there are not many celebrity deaths that have impacted me. Of course, I was sad when Ozzy died, who wasn't? And of course, David Lynch hit me really hard, as well as Sid Haig from House of a Thousand Corpses. But when I tell you that I sat on my back patio listening to Dolly Parton songs, crying my eyes out the entirety of the evening yesterday, which is when I'm recording this when she passed. I don't know if I've ever cried so hard for a celebrity death like I did for Dolly. Oh, and also, to make matters worse, less than 24 hours after she goes, Tim Curry does too. What the I think not the entire nation, the entire world, I know, is extremely distraught over the loss of these legends, obviously, as am I. And so before we begin this video, I would like to take a moment of silence for both of these incredible individuals who have blessed us with their life. I feel so lucky that I was able to be alive at the same time as these two legends and get to grow up with them and just experience their art. And yeah, moment of silence.
It's a Friday once again.
Hello, my fellow freaks, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you've all had a very great week. This week's video came originally as a viewer recommendation from Baku DD, and they gave me this recommendation like over a year ago now during our summer of disturbing cinema last year. And when I saw their comment, I'm not gonna lie, I got a little bit excited, because here's the thing, I've actually already seen this movie. Technically, I've already watched it and reviewed it back when I was doing like a written blog, which I know I've talked about a few times on the channel. This week's film was actually the last review that I wrote for the blog before I abandoned it. And if you would like to know a fun fact, the next one was supposed to be Man Bites Dog, and I was even in the middle of writing it when I kind of stopped. But anyway, I was excited because I think it's a fantastic idea. This week's movie is such a ginormous staple within disturbing cinema. Obviously, I had to make a video about it at some point. And that gigantic staple is, of course, August Underground from 2001 and directed by Fred Fogel. By the way, does he pronounce it Fogel or does he pronounce it Vogel? I made the mistake with Lloyd Kaufman because his last name, if you study German, would be pronounced Kauf, but that's not the way he pronounced it. Same with Fred Fogel. Doesn't Fogel mean bird? Anyway, as promised, it is August, damn it, and we will be covering August Underground in the month of August. Duh. In fact, sometime down the line, we are more than likely going to be looking at the other two films in the franchise as well, because honestly, I don't really mind this first one. Now, because I've already seen August Underground and already wrote a review for it in the past, this video is more like me revisiting the film and seeing what my opinion is on it, rewatching it about 2 years later. And I will say, I did reread my initial review before I started writing this new one, and I think it is very safe to say that I have had some changed opinions from the first time I watched this, but in a good way. Now, some of my opinions I think have kind of stayed the same, maybe just altered a little bit, but there are some things that I just straight out disagree with my former self now, which is why I think it is important to revisit things sometimes, and also why I don't like to immediately put anything into the S tier, because maybe when I first watch it, it's like a masterpiece, and then a year later when I decide to rewatch it, I maybe don't feel as ambitious anymore. Does that make sense? I think so. I also found that I have had a different attitude, a different perspective watching August Underground this time around. Now, I'm sure I'm going to have my initial review linked in the description for anyone who's just curious, but TLDR, my initial review, I felt kind of disappointed. I thought that it was a little bit lackluster for what I felt was promised to me, which was one of the craziest, most disturbing pseudo-snuff features out there. And instead, at the time, I found like mostly random scenes and two guys who are hardly intimidating. But this go around, I actually found some moments to be, you know, a little bit comedically dark, as well as some elements that I'm gonna say it actually kind of felt campy. Now, of course, in this video, because I'm sort of like revisiting August Underground, I will be discussing some of the details where I disagree with myself, my former self, but also something that I want to cover in this video specifically is my argument for why disturbing cinema can sometimes be campy in its own weird way. But first, if you are new here, hi, my name is STARGUTZZZ. My movie reviews tend to be more of a discussion of elements that I find to be good or bad about a piece, rather than giving you this full play-by-play of every single little thing that happens. So in other words, I refrain from spoilers as much as possible, but they will arise as they pertain to the discussion I would like to have with the movie. And if you would like to watch August Underground before or after this review, you can do so on Fossum. Fossum is the only choice, unless you buy it on DVD, which I highly recommend. In the future, would I go on to do the other two August Underground films? By that point, my goal is to just have them all on DVD. If you would like to watch August Underground, you can do so on Fossum, and there will be a link in the description, so it is that much easier for you to go out and watch this movie if you so choose. Now, of course, I am not sponsored by Fossum. I think I have talked too much shit about Fossum publicly to be sponsored by them ever. But also, before you go into this, let me give you your content warnings. Now, this is a piece of disturbing cinema. As I have said in the past, when it comes to disturbing cinema, just be prepared for anything and everything. But here's the list of stuff that you can look out for in August Underground, which includes gore, obviously, torture, SA, poop and vomit, violence just for the sake of violence, and immature boyish behavior. Now, with all of those pleasantries out of the way, let's jump right into this review. August Underground is less of a film with a traditional linear plot and more of an experimental piece of extreme horror attempting to come across as real footage. The film showcases snippets of the lives of two nameless young men who use a cheap digital camera to document their hangouts. While some of the clips shown can be as mundane or normal as going to a farm or a miniature museum, the film also showcases the ultra-violent activities of the young men, such as assault, torture, and murder. With one particular victim, Laura, being held captive in a basement and tortured randomly over the course of the film. In other words, if you have ever wondered what A Clockwork Orange would be like set in the early 2000s and, you know, Alex DeLarge had a video camera, this is it. Typically within the synopsis section, this is where I give room to talk about the narrative in general. However, with August Underground, as I just said, there's no real plot happening here. It is like a collage of footage made to come across as like real videos found on a digital camera. And those clips put together somewhat tell a story. Now, I think most audiences are going to be pretty divided over whether this is a good thing or a bad thing about the movie. If I had to guess, I would say that there is way more criticism about it than there is any kind of praise or acknowledgement for why these clips, these random clips that don't have to do with the murder and torture are getting involved. And listen, in my initial review, if you read it, I myself in the past criticized it for that. However, for some reason, I don't know what it is. This time I am just seeing August Underground with a completely new perspective because I have a whole reason for why these random, boring, unrelated clips are kind of included. And like why this lack of a plot aids in what the goal of the film is, along with making the film feel more believable to unknowing audience members. Now, I'm willing to bet this was probably way more impactful around the time that it came out. Hey, if by some miracle someone anyone somehow goes into this movie completely blind, I think it could still be convincing if somebody is watching this and they don't know what they're watching. But what is the likelihood of that anymore, right? If you know what August Underground is, you know that it's not real anymore. Like I said, it was probably way more impactful when it first came out and there was still some mystery behind it. Now, as I have stated, I feel like I am seeing this movie with a different perspective all of a sudden, because I have a vastly different opinion and a newfound appreciation for this film. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't still have some critiques. I just believe that I am seeing it with eyes that are a little bit more seasoned in analyzing disturbing cinema. And this perspective that finds a new appreciation for it, no matter how like weird or boring or lackluster it can get. I think this perspective also sees how incredibly influential this film has been to a lot of internet horror. Like, this is the blueprint. All of the edgy people doing like disturbing, fucked up ARGs or extreme internet horror, whatever terminology you want to use. Some of them, I feel personally, have to owe some inspiration to August Underground. When you think of edgy young guys on the internet who are obsessed with gore and murder, who boast about their love for MD Pope, who are lonely and they are trying to replace their understanding of love with the adrenaline of dark web content, that is exactly what August Underground is. It is a portrait of this type of person, of this persona. And in fact, it is so much of a portrait that you could even argue, to a degree, it's a little bit of a caricature of these types of people. And I say that because of how ridiculously edgy it can sometimes get, which we'll get into. Now, I mentioned very briefly in the intro that I do find some elements of August Underground to be campy. Yes, it is immature. I have that in my title of the initial review, and it was part of my basis of that review, and I don't think there's any argument there. It is an immature film. It's extremely immature, and I'll go over all of the very immature details. However, I do think that immaturity in part helps with the campy vibe that I'm kind of picking up this go around. So in the past I said that it wasn't disturbing at all. Listen, I acknowledge different things disturb different people. I have talked about that probably every time that I've covered disturbing cinema, because one of the primary examples that I use is that Eraserhead disturbs me more than the majority of these films, and that's just because of the ambience and the world building that Eraserhead has. It just, different things disturb different people, right? So while I don't think this is like the most disturbing thing out there, I actually did find that there were a few things that did disturb me and invoke a emotional response this time. Now, what disturbed me is definitely not what is disturbing most people who watch this movie. I think a lot of other people would say that they are more disturbed by all of the poop and all of the torture, but my favorite director is John Waters, so unfortunately I am unfazed by poop. Oh, before we leave this synopsis section, I guess I do have like a single narrative critique about August Underground, which is just that for a movie that is narratively aimless and doesn't really have a plot, it somehow manages to just completely lose all direction during the final 15 to 20 minutes. And the ending is so abrupt. The ending is so abrupt, I questioned whether Fossum even had the correct version of this movie or not, because I don't remember it ending like that. Now, I don't know how it's possible for a movie with no plot to lose direction at the end, but it does. I think it's probably because almost the entirety of the film's second half focuses on the extra scenes, or what I called the more mundane normal scenes, where we're just seeing these two guys out in public doing normal stuff. Their lives outside of the murder and torture, basically. Now, later on, I do have an argument for why I like most of these, but Can I just share one of the moments towards the end that I'm talking about here, where it feels like the movie is losing its direction with what it's trying to do, is just the fact that we spend a very fair amount of time watching Fred Fogel just get a tattoo. We just sit there and watch him get a tattoo. I mean, like, it ends up being part of the story somewhat, but I just thought it was very silly. And that is probably the one and only extra scene or nonsense, normal, mundane scene in general, where when I was watching it, I was just like, okay, dude. Come on, what are we doing? And honestly, I feel like this little example is also a showcase of some of the comedy aspects that some people could derive from August Underground, because what do you mean Fred Fogel just randomly decided, like, yep, I'm gonna get this tough ass tattoo and put it in my movie?
They made a whole series just by this guy.
It's gonna look tough, says the lead singer of Smash Mouth in his Hawaiian t-shirt and cargo pants. I don't know. It makes me giggle. I think it's very silly. Okay, now to the meat and bones of this review. Which, by the way, August Underground is only a little over an hour long, so as is standard pretty much when I watch a movie that's only an hour, I don't see a reason to put all of my stuff into different separated chapters, because I just don't feel like I have enough to speak about each of them to do that. So it's just one big old review section. Now, not many people are going to agree with my belief or my statements over how goofy and campy August Underground can truly be. But this is my channel, and this is my space for me to get on my soapbox and share with you my schizophrenic thoughts. Now, as I already kind of extensively mentioned, my first viewing, I thought the movie was a little bit lackluster. I found myself disappointed in how little violence was actually taking place. And again, I think I just felt this way because it had been built up to me as this like big, crazy, disturbing pseudo snuff movie. I mean, I feel like August Underground is a movie where even if you are not within the realm of extreme horror, if you're at least familiar with horror, you might have heard about it, you know? So I think I was so disappointed because I expected a lot out of it. And now that I'm not really expecting that, I can see it through a different lens. And I have to say that now I feel as though the very goofy and over-the-top theatrical performances from Fred, oh my god, dude, I am so tongue-tied, from Fred Fogel and the cameraman or cameramen. There are two like credited ones on IMDb, so, but anyway, the theatrical performances of the performers, I think, are part of that campy side of disturbing cinema that can sometimes be present. Now, I think a very primary, maybe almost textbook example of how a disturbing film can be campy is Girl Hell 1999. That's my favorite example. That's the one that I like to talk about the most. But even the first movie we did this month, Ostermontag, I talked about how that was balancing the camp factor with the disturbing fucked up factor. Like it did a very good job of being both. And so I'm starting to see this pattern or recognize how disturbing cinema can be campy in its own weird, twisted kind of way. And that's because I believe despite there being so many like dark, taboo subject matters that get covered in these films, most of the characters are portrayed to be so cartoonishly evil that it kind of like loops back around into being cheesy and melodramatic. I mean, as I said earlier this month with Ostermontag, that was some of the goofiest low-budget B-movie, hey, we're just a group of friends making a snuff film, kind of like shit that I've ever seen. It was campy and no one can convince me otherwise. Girl Hell 1999 is campy, no one can convince me otherwise, and August Underground is campy, No one can convince me otherwise. Now, this is not going to be campy the same way that the Rocky Horror Picture Show is, you know? It is not that traditional queer version of camp that I think we're all more familiar with. But I do believe in the discussion of extreme horror, disturbing cinema, and pseudo-snuff movies. We can consider some of them to be campy in how some of the characters are being portrayed by the performers. I mean, as I said in the synopsis, it is like Fred Fogel's character and the cameraman's character. They are both just like so comedically, perfectly internet edgelords of the early 2000s, obsessed with Rotten.com. They're caricatures. They're caricatures of this archetype of person that exists. And at times, it can be kind of funny. Even though there's fucked up stuff going on, it can be kind of funny.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my right gal.
We taking them or what?
Now, I know you guys are waiting for specific examples because STARGUTZZZ, you can't say that a disturbing film is campy and not provide examples. Don't worry, I got you. First of all, the acting and the dialogue. It is like so try-hard edgy that it comes off as a comedy skit, in my opinion. That's what I saw.
Look at the camera and smile. 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 I'm gonna put shit in your face. Better smile. Smile for me. Smile, baby. She's not very happy.
Why not? Why isn't she happy? She should be fucking ecstatic.
I'm your Michael now.
You hungry? It's just his toe. Get the fucking tape.
I would say back in 2001, the acting and the dialogue here, maybe it did something for the disturbing factor. Nowadays, in 2026, all I see is a caricature of an archetype.
Okay, honey. We're your friends. We're your friends. I love you.
Although it is not solely this edgelord caricature that can exude camp, but there is a general like young, immature male caricature that's at play also. And this young, immature caricature that these two characters provide are also kind of what helps to shed some dark comedic light even in the most fucked up of moments.
You know, have the man forgive me for my sins. What are you doing?
Check.
See his dick?
Just checking.
Now, I think the immaturity in this has a dual quality to it, meaning, yes, I think the immaturity does help with the camp factor, with the cheesy factor, but some of the immaturity I find also aids in the disturbing factor, which I'll go into in a bit. But even though some of the immaturity itself can be part of what makes this disturbing to watch, I think it really aids in the dark comedy of the film. For instance, all of the poop. I told you in the content warning, there is poop. Dude, there is so much discussion about and usage of poop that you would think you're watching fishtank.live. It is insane. There's so much poop. Poop, stinky butts, and fart jokes. I'm not even joking. I don't know if I will ever see a disturbing movie again that has so many fart jokes. Literal fart jokes.
It's fucking boring out here, man.
Not much for work either.
You can't sit here and tell me that I'm not supposed to laugh or find elements of this comedic when they're literally doing poop, butt, and fart jokes.
Your ass cracks. Your ass cracks. I got your ass cracked.
And I think one of the many moments with the obsession over butts and farts and poop that happens in this film and really holds a special place in my heart is the convenience store scene. Dude, the convenience store scene, I remember on my first watch being like confused and annoyed by it. This time, I'm not even gonna lie, I could not stop laughing. The convenience store scene is so ridiculous. I think it's comedic solely for the amount of times that I'm tired of just saying Fred Fogel. I'm Mr. August Underground. The character's name is just August Underground. I don't care. The amount of times that Mr. August Underground and the cameraman leave this establishment and return just to do more stuff is ridiculous. They leave and come back about like 3 or 4 times. And this convenience store scene takes up so much time that I'm kind of convinced it gets more screen time than any moment with Laura in the basement. Now, this is probably an exaggeration. I'm probably wrong because there are quite a few scenes with Laura, but damn, dude, this scene is so long. But anyway, within this scene, what I specifically want to highlight is the fact that during one of the times that they come back into the store and they're wreaking havoc, there is a young couple who is attempting to hide from Mr. August Underground and his friend September Tombstone, but obviously they fail, and August and September get a hold of them. I think in my last review I called them just the killer and the cameraman. I think it's a little bit funnier to call them August and September though. Anyway, once they find this couple, I mean, they hassle them, they roughhouse them, they beat them up, they put them to the ground. All the things that you would expect them to do, right? Well, except the one thing you probably are not expecting them to do, which is to pull down both the man and the woman's pants, and they make them sniff each other's butts. If I can show a clip, I will right now.
Why don't you sniff your girlfriend's ass for me? Fucking sniff your girlfriend's fucking ass. Fucking see it, sniff it.
Sniff the ass, sniff the ass, sniff the ass. No, sniff it. Get your fucking head over here, sniff that ass. Sniff his ass.
His ass.
Sniff his ass.
Sniff his fucking ass. What'd you do?
We sniffed her ass too.
What is this? What? I don't know. You expect the violence. You expect the beating. In fact, you probably expected way worse stuff to happen in this scene than what actually happens. But I bet not a single one of you guessed that these psychos would just make a couple sniff each other's butts. Come on. How is it not funny? How is it not funny? Now, likewise, there is a scene earlier on where they are torturing Laura in the basement, and the cameraman, September, is torturing her with her own poop and kind of taunting her with it. He's like putting it different places on her body and trying to make her eat it. And this eventually leads to him talking about wanting to take all of her poop and shoving it back up her butt.
Dude, I stuff her like a turkey. Stick her shit back in.
I'm sorry. Again, like, annoyingly immature. I agree. And it is maybe something that is disturbing to some viewers. Not to me. I thought it was funny as fuck. Because here's the thing. I hate to mention John Waters again, but I have to because we're talking about poop. If this were a John Waters movie and a John Waters character did exactly this, we would be allowed to laugh and call it campy. But because this is a piece of disturbing cinema, why can we not do the same? Why can we not admit that this is goofy and campy and comedic? If John Waters had a character that wanted to shove poop back up somebody's butt, we would love it. We would eat it up. Why can't we do it with August Underground? Admit that it's funny. Admit that it's goofy and cheesy and campy, please. He's threatening to put poop back up a butt. Honestly, Lloyd Kaufman would probably be proud. Now, while I am not personally, like, extremely disturbed by August Underground, I do find a little bit of it to be disturbing, but not a whole lot. I do understand why others would find it to be disturbing, especially when it came out, and especially if you're someone who is somehow watching this and have absolutely no information about what it is. Now, that little bit of disturbed that I feel when I watch it is something that maybe not as many people recognize that is disturbing, or maybe they are disturbed by, and that is the immaturity. It is equal parts funny and campy as it is disturbing, and for me personally made me sick to my stomach. I find the immaturity of this to be part of the disturbing factor. Now, before in my initial review, I said that it wasn't disturbing at all. It was mostly just immature, kind of boring, kind of annoying and disappointing. Now, looking back, I'm like, actually, the fact that it is immature, specifically in this fashion, does aid to how disturbing it is, or can be, depending on who you are, right? Because listen, at the end of the day, in this world, there is nothing scarier than a young man who believes that he is untouchable. I feel like many may cite August Underground to be disturbing for some of the more surface level things that are happening, you know, the gore, the torture, the assaults, but I think it's disturbing for what's laying more underneath that surface, which is the fact that we are watching two completely apathetic, cocky, violent young men act as though they are invincible while heavily impacting the lives of innocent strangers. Now, the scene that got to me the most, I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable here, okay? I had a scene that did kind of get to me and did really invoke a rageful, disgusted, emotional response, and that is the scene when they pick up the female hitchhiker. This scene, I don't know if I was just annoyed the first time I watched it, but this time around, it made me feel sick to my stomach. Just in the way that the young men exploit this young lady and the way that they treat her and talk to her, the things that they do to her. Like it really impacted me this time. And you know what? I'm not even ashamed to admit it, because I know the purpose of that scene was to make the audience feel that way. It's a disturbing movie. If you don't feel sick to your stomach, dude, this scene, I just found it to be so disgusting. I think the men's immaturity level is very disgusting in it, the things they say to her. Specifically, one specific line sent me into a silent, blind rage, and it's when they're trying to pressure this girl into taking off her clothes and doing things, and the cameraman is looking at her crotch, and he keeps egging her on to touch herself, and he's going like,
Make a finger disappear, make a finger disappear.
Make a finger disappear?
shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Oh my god, it sent me into so much rage. But that's the point. We're not supposed to like these guys. I hate the scene. I hate the scene. I fucking hate the scene so much. It sends me into so much rage. But you know what? I would not ask for it to be removed, because it is obviously there for a purpose. This is a disturbing movie, and the audience, I believe, is supposed to feel sick and disgusted and probably angry watching it. So because of that, I would say personally, yes, August Underground is effectively disturbing in my opinion. And you know what? Maybe not everyone agrees with me on that, and that is so completely fine. As I said, we all find different things disturbing. For me, it is not so much the poop and the torture and the gore, but it is like the dialogue and the behavior. Yes, the acting and the dialogue can be campy, but it can also just send me into a blind rage. There is a mixture of emotions from me while watching this movie. Although, let me include in here that one thing that I did really appreciate about August Underground is the fact that not every victim is female. That's a big shock for a movie like this. There are plenty of male victims within this movie, and one of them even gets his dick cut off, dude.
Where's his dick?
So, you know, if you are a girl like me who enjoys disturbing cinema, you might appreciate that as well. There is not a sole focus on torturing women. We get to see some men tortured as well. Gender equality. Thank you, Fred Fogel. What I think I appreciate the most about August Underground this time around, though, is just the fashion that the film is shot in. Now, as I mentioned, this is something that will probably divide audience members going into it, because on one hand, I do believe that these random mundane clips serve a purpose to the film. On the other hand, I do completely understand the perspective that it is filler, that it is boring, that there's just like not enough intensity. I get it, because those were all of my criticisms the first time around. However, this time around, I think I am understanding why they are so necessary to the movie. I think these clips are added to make it feel more realistic, to in a way perhaps make it feel like found footage. Now, I don't know at all if that was the goal that Fred Fogel had. I am not like a #1 Fred Fogel super fan or anything. I don't know. However, the way that the movie is presented to the audience makes it come across like it is meant to be found footage, though. There is no plot, virtually no plot, and that's because the film is presented in this collage of clips from somebody's digital camera. And they also seem to be arranged in chronological order of when the clips or videos were taken. Now, again, this is something that would have been probably way more effective closer to 2001 when the movie came out. Maybe it is possible for somebody to 100% organically and blindly come across this nowadays and think that question whether or not this is real footage or not. Maybe, but I'm willing to bet if you have already heard the name August Underground, then you are completely aware it is a movie and not real footage. I personally find it to be pretty clever that they have these more mundane and normal moments between the two men intermingled amongst all of the disturbing stuff, the murder and the torture and the assaults. Because I feel like it more accurately represents just randomly stumbling upon someone's documentation of their chaos, of their madness. And likewise, it feels a little bit more real because it feels like just two friends recording anything, no matter what it is. It's not that they're just specifically trying to make a snuff film and they're just recording all of their violent acts. As I said, they record themselves going to a farm, touring a slaughterhouse, going to a miniature museum. Why are these psychopaths at a miniature museum? I don't know. But they went and they recorded it, and it's part of the collage that is presumably found on whatever digital camera. I found it to be very boring the first time. Now I kind of like it, and I see its purpose. Because yes, there's disturbing, fucked up stuff in this, but you can tell by the way that it's filmed, it's supposed to just be like these two guys who are hanging out, and sometimes they do fucked up shit, but sometimes they do normal stuff. And no matter what they're doing, they just have a camera to record it just because. Because it was 2001 and everyone had a digital camera and everyone was doing the same exact thing of recording whatever with your friends because it was fun. You know, so I think including those moments and those scenes helps to make it feel more realistic. I envy the people who were able to watch August Underground completely blind, because obviously by the time I watched it for the first time 2 years ago, 2024, I was already familiar with what it was. Like I knew that it was just a movie made by a guy, that everything was fake. But can you imagine? I want to try and put myself like in the shoes of somebody in 2001, 2002 who has stumbled upon this for the first time, and they have to question whether or not this is real footage. Because again, closer to 2001, I would say this was convincing as fuck. And so I am so completely envious that I don't get to have the experience where I get to wonder if this was real or not. I would have loved to have been able to watch this when it came out, but I was 4 years old. I don't know. I'm so envious of everyone who got to watch this while still clouded under the umbrella of ambiguity. Is this real footage of like crazy guys on the internet, or is it just a movie? Because I'm so willing to bet, especially with the mixture of the mundane and normal moments, I'm willing to bet Charlie Sheen would have called the cops if he watched this. Overall, I enjoyed it. And I do see August Underground as being a cult classic, especially within the realm of disturbing cinema. Even if you are not within the realm of disturbing cinema, of extreme horror, it is so very likely that you have at least heard the title August Underground. And I think it's very apparent why this has become such an influential piece to other people making extreme horror, especially primarily on the internet. Like, August Underground is such a great portrayal and portrait of people like our main characters who exist on the internet. And they are so perfectly that archetype that at times it comes off as very campy and cheesy. Now, August Underground definitely does have a very, very specific tone that not everyone is going to fuck with. As I said, super edgy teenage, early 20s boys who are super immature and doing gross, disturbing things, and it can be annoying to watch. I'm not even gonna lie. Some of the moments, I'm so annoyed, I'm sick. The hitchhiker scene, I don't know why, that is the one scene in this where I'm just like ready to throw hands. But again, I have media literacy. I know that's the point and that we're not supposed to like these characters. By the way, if you can't tell, I am absolutely living for the AO3 discourse that's happening on the internet right now. I love it so much. For me, I think that I could see myself rewatching this. I think that I would have to be in a very specific mood to want to rewatch this. And that specific mood to me is like early 2000s, edgy for the sake of edginess. I grew up on the internet in the mid 2000s, so in a way, some of August Underground feels nostalgic to my experiences growing up. Not only like growing up on the internet, but very strangely enough, it gives off a early autumn vibe. And if I can be frank, I feel as though I get like early autumn, start of school vibe behind this, not only because of the immaturity of these boys, but also, I don't know, in some fucked up way, I think it reminds me of my former experiences being in middle school or being in high school, and it's the start of the school year, autumn is coming, and all of the boys in my class are showing me gore videos on the internet. It's fucked up to call that nostalgic. I don't know, I'm watching this and I'm just like, man, remember when you saw an completely innocent person being beheaded while you were just trying to participate in art class? Crazy. I don't know, maybe like something about comforting the disturbed and disturbing the comfortable or some shit like that. I don't know. Anyway, in a weird, twisted way, not only do I find August Underground to be extremely campy, but I also find it to be somewhat nostalgic in a fucked up way. In a fucked up, I was traumatized by the internet and my peers kind of way. If you're somebody who likes disturbing movies and you like them for the pure sake of violence, then you will perhaps like this. Again, like I said, it can get boring because it's not like high intensity torture and murder the entire time. However, it's a staple in the genre for a reason, a very good and obvious reason. And I think if you're gonna get into disturbing cinema, like this is one of the ones. Like, you better make sure this is one of the first ones you watch, because this is like textbook disturbing movie. As I already said, I think it's a cult classic. I think it's great. What tier will I be giving it? I don't even remember what tier I gave it last. What tier did I give it? What tier did I give it? So I actually, in my first review, if you did not decide to go look at it, I initially gave this a C tier. I think my mind has definitely changed. I think I have found a deeper appreciation for this movie. I see it from a new perspective, a new light, and there are definitely a lot more things that I like about it this time. So for this video, I'm actually going to bump up the tier rating and give August Underground the B tier. I think it's completely worthy of the B tier. It's not gonna be like one of my first go-tos to rewatch, but if I'm ever in a specific mood to watch something like this, probably one of the first things that I'll turn to. I'm very happy that I have decided to revisit it and that I have such a different opinion on it now, and that the opinion has improved over time, actually. In the world of extreme horror, this is an absolute cult classic. There's a reason why the title August Underground does not leave anyone's mouths. Yes, it is very immature and can be annoying, but again, it's part of the point. It's part of the film's purpose. I wasn't expecting to watch this a second time and suddenly have like this whole thing over how it's actually kind of campy, but here we are. I usually have my notebook because I write by hand. I don't know, I felt like typing it this time, so I don't have my book. So and with that, we are done with yet another movie review. Thank you guys so much if you stayed all the way until the very end. If you like this video, please make sure that you stab that like button. It is a free and easy way to help support this channel. Also, is there a movie that you would like to hear my opinion on? Put it in the comments down below and maybe you'll see it show up in a future video. Also, if you liked this video just so much that you want to hear me ramble about more disturbing cinema, B movies, trauma films, fantasy films, weird to-be finds, whatever. If you just want to hear me ramble about more movies in general, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell icon so you can be notified every time I make a new upload, which new uploads are every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On the screen are some of my socials as well. Now let me tell you guys really quick that I am considering not uploading next week. I'm considering taking a break week because here's the thing. If I can be so completely frank, I'm just exhausted. There have been like compounding issues going on in my personal life, and I just the day that I'm recording this, I had like such a mental break where it was impossible for me to do anything, and I think I just need to take a short rest. So all of that to say that there may not be an upload next week, and I really hate doing stuff like that, but I think it's something for my own good so that I can come back to you guys with more energy and a better working mind. I don't know, my head is just, I don't know. Just giving you the heads up. If you just need more STARGUTZZZ content in your life, right here is the live channel. I go live kind of sporadically, haven't gone live in a while, but there is a backlog of old streams. Again, if you just want more STARGUTZZZ content. And now one final thank you so much for everyone that stayed around until the literal very end. Our time here is precious, and the fact that you have used your time to sit here and listen to me ramble all my schizo talk about how campy and fun and comedic August Underground actually can be, just thank you. I appreciate you, and I appreciate your time, the time that was spent to sit here and watch this video. It really does mean the world to me. I may not see you in any live streams. I might not see you next week. I haven't decided yet. I feel bad not uploading, but I also feel like I need the break. If I do not see you in a random live stream, I will see you in the next video. But until then, please have a great night and stay safe out there.
Get the fuck off me, alright? It's over, man. It's fucking over. It's fucking over, man.
It's over, man. Leave.
Get back in there and do your job, asshole.